Welcome to this Skill Builder session on the basic mathematics of percentages. In this session, we'll cover the characteristics of percentages, expressing fractions as percentages and vice versa, expressing percentages as decimals and vice versa, and calculating percentages as quantities and quantities as percentages. A percentage is a number or ratio expressed as a fraction with a denominator of 100 and where the value of the percentage is expressed by the numerator. Percentages are dimensionless numbers. They have no unit of measurement. However, when percentages relate to specific units of measure, they must always be expressed in corresponding units. For example, pounds per 100 pounds, millilitres per 100 millilitres, or persons per 100 persons. In order to convert a fraction to a percentage, we can use a proportional set. For example, if we take the fraction 3 over 5, then this is going to be proportional to x over 100, x being the value of the percentage. We can then rearrange the equation for x equals 3 times 100 over 5. Then 3 times 100 divided by 5 gives us 60%. We can use the same method to convert 7 over 8 to a percentage. Using the proportional set, we can see that 7 over 8 is going to be equal to x over 100. We can then rearrange for x to give us x equals 7 times 100 over 8. Then finally, 7 times 100 divided by 8 equals 87.5 equals 87.5%. To convert a percentage to a fraction, all we need to do is reduce it to its simplest form. For example, if we take 32%, then we know that's equal to a fraction of 32 100ths. All we need to do now is reduce this down to its simplest form, in this case by reducing the numerator and denominator by 4. Which leaves us with a final fractional value of 8 over 25. Similarly, if we want to convert 17.5% to a fraction, we can express 17.5% as the fraction 17.5 over 100. However, this time, in order to make the calculation simpler, the first thing we can do is multiply both the denominator and the numerator by 10. Now that we're working with whole numbers rather than decimals, it's easier to see the common factors, in this case 25, which gives us a final fractional value of 7 over 40. To convert a percentage to a decimal, all we need to do is divide the percentage by 100. For example, we know that 12% as a fraction is 12 over 100. All we then need to do is to move the decimal point 2 places to the left in the numerator and 2 places to the left in the denominator. This leaves us with the value of 0.12 over 1, which we would express as the decimal 0.12. Now, if we want to convert 1.25% to a decimal, we know that all we need to do is to move the decimal point 2 places to the left, giving us a final decimal value of 0.0125. Conversely, to convert a decimal to a percentage, all we need to do is multiply it by 100. For example, if we take the decimal 1.15, we can express that as 1.15 over 1. Then, to convert this to a percentage with a denominator of 100, all we need to do is to move the decimal place of the numerator 2 places to the right and the denominator 2 places to the right. We now have 115 parts per 100, in other words, 115%. We now know then that to convert 0.9875 to a percentage, all we need to do is to move the decimal point 2 places to the right, giving us a final value of 98.75%. To calculate a percentage of quantity, we can use straightforward multiplication. In the first example, what is 35% of 12? We'll express the percentage as a fraction. Thus, 35 over 100 times 12, which gives us an answer of 4.2. In the second example, what is 15% of 7.5? We'll express the percentage as a decimal. Hence, by moving the decimal point 2 places to the right, 15% becomes the decimal value 0.15. We can now multiply this by 7.5, giving us an answer of 1.125. To calculate a quantity as a percentage, in the first example, we can use a proportional set. Thus, 48 parts out of 150 parts is going to be equal to x parts out of 100. We can now transpose for x being equal to 48 times 100 over 150, which gives us an answer of 32%. In the second example, we can calculate the value as a decimal and then convert this to a percentage. Thus, 105 divided by 600 equals 0.175. We can now convert this decimal into a percentage by moving the decimal point 2 places to the right, giving us a final value of 17.5%. Thank you for watching this Skill Builder video on the basic mathematics of percentages. If you'd like to follow up on any of the topics covered, please follow the QR code to book a one-to-one appointment with either a student learning advisor or, for support with more advanced topics, our maths and stats clinics.